It's kind of awkward. I feel like we're in a studio. I'm Megan, and this is my husband, Beau, and our daughter, Beckett. Join us on our journey as we relocate our family to raw land in beautiful northeastern Washington. Watch as we start from scratch and build the life we desire. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Well, while Beau's looking that up, I'll go ahead and introduce us. For those of you that are new to our channel, I'm Megan. This is my husband, Beau.
Hola!
We are building a shop house. Shouse, barndominium. It's essentially a pole barn structure. And if you are still following us through all of these shenanigans, thanks for still being here with us.
Yeah, so it started, we lived in Utah and wanted to downsize. So I drew up a 60 by 40 garage and put 2 bedrooms in it and convinced her to sell our 5,000 square foot house and move into a garage. So we put together a rough budget. The essence of this video will be what the costs are. I started off literally just kind of pulled a number out of my butt, put some rough building numbers together. So I got, concrete and then the structure, and then it just started expanding from there. Like I said, I think we started with a 40 by 60, and then our friend builds pole barn structures, and so we had him give us a quote, and then he says, well, nobody wants to live in a square box. Why don't we do this? Why don't we do that? Why don't we do this? And then I wanted a certain size garage, and it morphed into this thing. So I'll start off. Give me a second here. I was just in the middle of trying to find.
We're pulling up our exact information for you guys. Again, we started this whole process back in, actually we started I think in 2019 looking to do this whole transition, and then when COVID hit, everything kind of came to a screeching halt. We still planned on moving. Our old house was already listed. We ended up living in Montana near friends and family for a year, or almost a year, before we were able to be on the property full time. That definitely made a huge difference as far as our timeline. We haven't actually been working full time on the property for a full year yet. That won't happen until the end of April or May, I think.
Yeah, so I just pulled up our original budget, and I had $165,000 for the shell of the building. The interior build out was, we had a line item for $50,000. We had $90,000 budgeted for the land, $10,000 roughly for the septic, $5,000 for the road. $5,000 for the road. We had $5,000 for clearing. As you've seen from the previous videos, the trees are super thick.
We're way off on that one.
Power was $9,000, HVAC $7,000, $3,500 for drawing and engineering, and $20,000 for the well, and $3,000 for the permit. So that comes up to $367,000. That was our pie in the sky number.
The only number that we knew for sure on this was probably our land number, because we'd
yeah.
already bought the land.
We purchased the land prior to selling our old house. I actually flew up here. We knew a rough area of where we wanted to live, whether it's the northwest or close to Montana, but not too close. So we kind of just drew a radius, and I started searching. I think I used Realtor, and found property that we could afford. It was 20 acres. We knew we wanted some land for some future plans that we may or may not get to on this channel, but we knew we wanted some property around us. And then we obviously had our rough budget, so that's kind of the determining factor of how we got here. Flew up here, found the land, bought it prior to selling our old house.
He said, I love this one, let's buy it. I wasn't with him. He was alone. I was like, all right, go for it.
So we
sounds good.
Purchased it basically sight unseen. Again, the trees are so thick you couldn't see anything. We could drive into the property on our road that's now our driveway, or part of our driveway. And then you could see it from the main highway, and that was it.
It's like an old logging road.
Once the house sold, I really started putting budgets together, started calling contractors. We didn't think we'd do it all ourselves, so I got numbers from contractors for them to do it. This was, I was trying to find a date on here.
I don't think it has
It had to have been,
We had to have it submitted by.
I think I started the construction loan process in March.
Gosh. Well, maybe even earlier because we closed in June?
Yeah, I think it was February or March.
Yeah.
So
That's
the
it.
building started in January of 2021. Building started in 2021. We were paying cash from the sale of our house to build the structure. So we bought the land, built the structure with cash, and then we started running out of cash. And so that's when I started really putting budgets together, calling contractors, electrical contractor, HVAC contractors. The 165 grand included the structure and the concrete. It did have windows, didn't have garage doors, didn't have heat. So again, just started compiling all those numbers. And if you remember, my original number was 365,000.
And we had to, because we're carrying the loan ourselves as the contractors, so we had to line item everything. From the very beginning, we had to pick out like faucets and like down to the nitty gritty to be able to say this is how much money we're going to need for each of these things.
Yeah,
So,
and luckily we built a couple houses together, and we kind of knew the process. But when you're working with a big builder, they usher you into their showroom. They're like, "Do you want faucet A or faucet B?"
right, and that's how our last one
Then
was.
you say, "Okay, faucet B."
Much easier.
Well, when it's all you're like, "Do I want one of 7,000 faucets?" And then you got to pick that one. And now with where we're at, like our tub faucet, for instance, thank God I got it early, but I think it took 6 months to get it.
Yeah, and that was the whole reason our faucets and stuff were on back order for so long, is they were waiting for that one item. All of our other sink faucets and everything were easy to get, but that one faucet held it up for quite a
Forever.
while.
Yeah. So anyways, just a quick run or breakdown. Like I said, our building erected with concrete was 165 grand. I touched with the builder not too long ago, touched base with him, and he said that this package now was 225,000
Yeah,
in
so-
a year. So in 12 months, it's jumped. I mean, what is that? 40%.
Well,
I didn't do the math.
we got into the contract with them fairly early, and they were pretty good about not inflating our costs along with it. They had already quoted us, so this is what we were getting.
Yeah, they were smart too. I mean, they bought a majority of the the timber package right away, because you need that to build the building. The one thing he didn't buy, which he bought it on the way up, was the OSB for the roof. So we completely OSB sheeted our roof. It's not real typical on pole barn structures, but it was actually at our builder's demand. I guess he doesn't build them without it in the Northwest, just because of snow load and your steel starts to sag. So I guess shame on him. He didn't buy it right away, but none of us foresaw this
The
price increase.
The OSB
this
is
much.
astronomical.
It was, I think he quoted, we were looking at it, he had $12 a sheet when he bid the building, and when he purchased it, it was at $25 a sheet. But it
It
went
even went
all
up,
the
yeah.
it went to $75 a sheet.
Like, it's definitely.
There's people robbing it off of job sites and then just selling it for $10 less a sheet. So it's back to our numbers. Building was 165,000. We temporary power ended up coming in right about what we had budgeted. With power and gas, I think we were 10 grand.
Again, we did that all ourselves,
Yeah.
with the exception of them actually coming out and hooking it up. We dug a lot of trenches and filled them back in.
You can find that video
Yep.
here. Clearing was nowhere close to what I had. I'd have to go back. I had what did I say?
You had 5,000, and we're definitely over that already.
She's correct. I had 5 grand in here. I think we're like closer to 20.
Mm-hmm. It's a lot of work, and we own some of our own machinery, so that's not
a lot of
including
it
rental.
we did with either borrowed or owned equipment. And you don't want to be cutting this stuff down by hand. Just, you could. I mean, absolutely you could. But there's a tree, a 2-inch tree every 6 square inches.
Depends on where you're at, yeah.
So you can watch our videos. It was easiest just to kind of get a mini or I'd say a mid-sized excavator and just rip it out. So we blew way over our budget on clearing. Like I said, a lot of that was out of pocket, and I think we're close to $20,000.
And our goal is to clear at least the first 5 acres where we're like currently sitting, and we're not even cleared that much yet. So,
plumbing, I got multiple plumbing quotes. Again, this is very area specific, but we were close to, I think it was $25,000 for plumbing. That included the rough in and all the faucets, tubs, all that. So that's basically your entire plumbing budget. When we went to call the plumber, he was too busy to make it. That's why you saw my cousin and I fumble through the plumbing. And you'll see this more plumbing coming. So we ended up doing all the plumbing ourselves. Electrical, I think, was a $38,000 quote. I got multiple quotes, and they were all almost identical. So I don't know the formulas they used to put their numbers together, but they were all pretty damn close. Touching on that, we have a 400 amp service coming in, and then we split 200 amps to the well house and then 200 amps to the house. That 400 amp service added about $5,000 by itself. So, if you're kind of using this as a gauge, you don't have to do that by any means. We knew we'd have a lot of power or power needs, whether it's our friends coming over with their campers or, it was the same cost from the utilities to bring in 400 amps as it was to bring in 200 amps. So like I was saying, you don't need the 400 amp service necessarily, depending on what you're going to do on your property. You can just do a 200 amp service, and that'd save you $4,000 to $5,000 in hardware or equipment. But like I was saying, we knew we'd want the extra power for her grandpa coming over or our friends coming over in RVs. And another thing it allowed us to do was, since we had the meter and everything off of the home, it allowed us to live in our camper on site without having the power, go through your house and then back out to an RV hookup. So that was electrical. We went over plumbing. Garage doors, I think we were $7,000 or $3,500 extra, plus we had so $5,500 in garage doors. We went with 2-inch doors. 4 3-inch I'd go for them, but the 2 inches were sufficient for us. Plus we had a designer door on the front too, so that added quite a bit.
Oh, the lights or the windows and the doors, yeah. But there's no, I don't know if you've seen you've seen full shots of the shop. There's no other windows in here, so the garage door is letting all the light.
Heating and air conditioning. So the radiant floor with the DIY system was $18,000. That was with a 199,000 BTU boiler. All the piping, all the design, all the manifolds. Basically, you add water and plug it in, and you can make heat.
I would highly recommend eating that cost if you can, because the radiant heat, it's crazy.
So nice.
Yeah, it's so nice, and it's all just concrete, but it's so nice in here.
One thing I was concerned about is when we opened the doors, we were going to lose all the heat, but it's wild. So you open the doors, all the heat goes out. You close the doors, and it's warm within 10 minutes.
Yeah,
because it warms everything. It warms the tables, the camper, all your tools. So if you can afford radiant, I would definitely go for it. And if you're going to build a house that's slab on grade like this, or walk on finished concrete all the time, I don't think I'd build a house without doing it.
Yeah, I don't think we'll ever do not heated floors again.
It's not cheap, but it's nice.
I can give a link in the description too for the company that we ended up using. Yep. They have been fantastic. I mean, even when we have an issue or we're unsure of what's going on with the boiler, Beau literally just calls him or texts him, and he gets us back to us within a very decent amount of time and answers questions. And they were, the whole time we were installing it, they answered all of our questions. The whole thing came to us totally user friendly.
Right.
I mean, you guys saw I laid most of the tubing.
Yeah. One thing I will say too is they market it as a DIY.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll come and install it for you if you want, but they market a true DIY system where a lot of these companies, if you call them, they have to come install it. That's their business. These guys make their money selling DIY systems. And he's like, dude, I know most of you guys, us, are doing this on nights and weekends. He says, absolutely don't hesitate to call or text me. I might not get back to you at 7 o'clock at night, but maybe I will. So, and he has been so good. Literally Sunday morning, we'd be working out here, and I'd text him, and he'd shoot me a text back. So check that link out. I would highly recommend them. That was the heating. The cooling. So when I got the cooling estimates, I actually only got one, and it's from a local place here. And I didn't read the estimate correctly. I told them I wanted either give me a price for forced air unit or mini splits throughout the house. So when I saw the quote, I didn't really look at it. They had mini splits or forced air on top and mini splits on the bottom, literally two different line items. Well, what I failed to realize was it was actually both of them to cool the home. It was a forced air downstairs and a mini split upstairs. He didn't say that, and I didn't ask any questions. So when I put my budget together, I literally crossed out the forced air section of it and just put the mini split section in. So now we're in a bit of an issue because we had basically $10,500 for air conditioning, and I've had quotes come in recently from 19 grand to the one that we ended up going with is like 13,000. So we are going with forced air. One thing I've learned that if you get over like 3 units, basically 3 head units on mini splits, it's really not that cost effective or less cost than doing forced air. It's nicer because you can cool each room to exactly the temperature you need or want, but we're battling enough issues right now with supply and everything going up that I just couldn't swallow an extra $6,000 hit to the budget versus a $3,000 hit. Yeah. So mini splits would have been preferred. Okay, back to our budget. Heating and air conditioning. We had $28,000. We're probably spending closer to $31,000. Insulation. This is a big ticket on ours. It gives us a percent of the funds here, and it is actually 8% of the entire budget was just insulation. So I don't know. Have we shown them the shop?
Yeah, they've seen the shop
so
finish.
So the shop
and they've
is
seen
bat, and I actually don't know what they call that. It's just the
white barrier.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It is
it's great, though.
It is a vapor barrier,
and it smells really good.
I don't know what it's called. Anyways, it's bat material with a reflective, like a white reflective covering on it. The home is spray foam, 2 inches of spray foam, which is closer to 4 inches in most places.
Yeah, it's thick.
And then they'll put basically a 2x4 bat over it. If you actually look at the science and the air movement through spray foam, the bat insulation on top of the spray foam is only there to meet code requirements. Even the 2 inches of spray foam is night and day above 5.5 inches of bat insulation as far as air control and insulating properties. I don't know if you guys have ever seen a house with bat insulation on it, but without the drywall, you can still feel air coming through a home that's even sided and then stud frame and bat insulation.
Well, you can put your hand on the spray foam right now. That's not cold at all.
Not cold at all.
And it's not even fully insulated yet. They still have to put the batting and stuff drywall, but you can put your hand right on the foam.
Right.
And then around our front door is not. It's still just the sheet metal, and it even still perspires. Like there's
condensates.
Condensates. That's the word.
So we have had a couple comments. There's another YouTube channel out there, Marshall Remodel.
Yep.
Go check out his channel. He actually
Got a lot of great tips.
He does.
Yeah.
He explains a lot, and he's done a lot of these pole buildings, which we haven't. But they had an issue with their home that their spray foam installer was using, I believe it was nails, to gauge the depth of the spray foam, and that nail was actually a thermal bridge through the spray foam, and the frost was accumulating on the head of that nail or screw, and then that frost would condensate in the wall. So that's why they were getting moisture inside their wall.
And they had to redo the whole thing.
Luckily, which he even says this in his video, I went and watched that after they told us, but luckily our walls have been exposed, and we've had negative 10 degrees. So you can clearly see where she was talking about where it wasn't insulated. You can clearly see it condensating.
Yeah.
So I went around the entire house looking for places where that thermal bridging could occur, and we didn't find anything. So
exterior or interior, because backs up to the porch too, so you could see on anywhere we have concrete too. You can see if it's dripping or if it's coming out.
So it is a valid concern if the insulation isn't sprayed properly, and if it's not sprayed thick enough. There's some companies that'll try to sell you 1 inch, and according to our spray foam people, which I can see the thought process or the science behind it, but again, this is the guy selling you spray foam, so he's going to tell you to buy more. But he was pretty legit, or pretty honest at least. I asked him, I said, why don't we just fill this whole damn thing up with spray foam? He says, to be honest with you, the 2 inches is going to give you what you need or would want out of this home, and 5 inches would just break the bank, and it's not that, the ROI isn't there. So don't do 1 inch, do at least 2 inches. Drywall, this is it's
our issue right now.
Yeah. So I only have $11,000 on
in
a
here.
line item.
Woo!
But I think a lot of that was broke out. Long story short, they gave us a list, or excuse me, a bid breakout. She can put it on the screen so you guys can see here, with a bunch of different line items, and we had to fill every line item, is what it was. So all of these numbers, they're not all exactly true, because I had some big bulk numbers that, like, this contractor's providing this, and he didn't break it out like I needed it. So we as in me and the banker, shuffled a bunch of these numbers around. So I think I did have the 14 grand in there.
And they're just somewhere else, yeah.
Anyways, drywall, tape, and texture. We have a line item for $11,000. Our last quote was $23,000. I got a quote today, it was $18,000. Material is $6,500. Turns out we're going to be drywallers. Drywall, like I said, we're screwed on drywall. We're going to become drywallers. But the crazy thing is if you look at the material versus the labor is 70% of it. I'd have to do it. $6,500 in drywall, or material costs, $27,000 in total quotes. Septic, we had $7 grand in there. The tank itself was like $3,500. Actually, that was everything. It was $3,500 for the tank.
Oh yeah, and all the pipes, everything.
All the drain field, the tight line, which is the green line from your house to the tank, and then from the tank to the drain field. All $3,500, or all that was $3,500, plus the fabric you got to put on top of it.
And even those things that you had to stick in the septic tank, that ball thing.
Yeah, that was all. It was the filter.
All that's included.
And then we had $1,000 in drain rock, and I actually rented a big excavator for that, just because we had to dig so much earth up. I want to say it was $500 or $800
for the weekend.
No, I think it was $600 for the weekend.
Yeah,
that's when we burned our brush pile too. So
that video's coming right after this one.
So we saved some money there. Water hookup, $3,900. I had that in there for the pump, is what I assume there.
For the well pump?
Yep. And I think we ended up paying for the pump and pipe and everything about $2,000.
So I don't remember it being that much.
I think with the pump, the pipe, and the 4 frost freeze, it was $2,500. The well, we had 10,500. I don't remember. I think we did okay on that.
Yeah, I
think we went over a little bit.
Yeah, I don't actually remember. I think we did go over a little bit, but we actually got pretty lucky. We were under like I think we only went over like 12 feet, maybe what they estimated, and those sticks are 20 feet long each. So
I think we did okay.
Yeah.
We'd have to go back and look. We'll let you know.
Yeah.
Cabinets and hardware.
Oh well, that we are actually saving quite a bit of money on there. We're using 27 eStore. I'll put a link for them in the description as well. Their customer service has actually been fantastic. We found them through another YouTube channel, actually, and totally customizable. We priced out so many different. I mean, like we tried Costco cabinets. We looked at like Home Depot and Lowe's and all those things. And honestly, we're trying to go for a very modern look, which is kind of hard to find. But these cabinets are exactly what we're looking for, and I think I ended up saving us almost $3,000 for what our budget was. I ended up spending it on appliances, though. That's where, because I made it even somewhere.
Yeah. And if you add modern to anything, just add 30% to it.
Yes, always. If you say, I want modern, which, by the way, is like flat face cabinets instead of all the...
Yeah, it's not...
It's like less work.
It's less artistry.
Yeah.
Less...
But more money.
Yeah. So, cabinets, we had 16,000 in there. Like she said, she saved 3,000, but then...
Blew it on the appliances.
Appliances, we had $7,000. Actually, I don't think you did that bad.
No, I mean, I didn't. Well, plus, so remember, I was in charge of cabinets, countertops, and appliances. Yeah. It's been like it was all me to pick those out. And so I ended up evening it out. I didn't go over anywhere. Well, even it out.
Right. We had a couple line items in there for carpet and flooring, vinyl flooring.
Yeah, we don't even. I think the only place we might carpet is Beckett's room, and that's maybe. We might end up just doing whatever we end up doing upstairs. The whole bottom, we're leaving concrete. Everything, we're gonna seal it.
Yep. Out
in the house, not the shop. Shop's shop. But the upstairs, obviously, is just OSB right now. So we have to put something down, but not quite sure yet what it'll be.
So we had $2,800 for laminate flooring upstairs, and then $682 for carpet. I still think we'll be fine on that budget.
Her room isn't outrageous, so we could probably even find a remnant or something that somebody brought back, or that'll cover it, and we'll be able to save some money there.
So next line item is cultured marble, is what it was called.
Yeah.
Megan was freaking out. She's like, "Did you put marble in our house and I didn't know about it?"
I literally was like, "What is this marble?"
But it's just the countertops, and so we had a local company quote both the granite and the cabinets, and then when we went back to them, the pricing wasn't higher for what we spec'd out. So what I'm saying is the cabinets, they kept the cost about the same. It went up like 5%. It wasn't much. And then the countertops would have been the same, except Megan wants to do a waterfall island. Well, the island is 10 feet by 4 feet. So when you do that math down both sides, the single island would have taken an entire chunk of granite.
Yeah, we had to, if we were going to do that in granite or quartz, we were going to have to buy a full slab. And that full slab blows your budget, that one piece. So we are actually going to attempt to DIY the island. I'm not saying what it is.
We're going to make it out of woven dog hair.
Out of paint hair. But all the other countertops for the rest of the house, so part of the kitchen, all the bathrooms, lunchroom, everything, I went to, again, another local place and picked out remnants, pieces that I took my measuring tape and made sure they would fit. And so all of those are going to be just remnant pieces. And I actually think I ended up picking out all quartz pieces. I don't think any of them were granite. But.
Yeah, and I learned this. I built a house in 2012, or I had a house built. And they're like, come over to our yard. and we'll save you some money. So I went over to their granite yard, and most of the time, if you look at a kitchen, a majority of them have an L, or a majority of them only take this much. Well, when they build these custom homes, that custom home bought that slab.
Full slab, yeah.
And they don't use it. Well, then we come along and the company just sells it again, but you can get it for a very discounted price. So go ahead.
Well, and I was, again, if I wanted to just cover the top of the counter, we probably still could have found a remnant that size, because like Beau said, I mean, they had huge remnants and they had tiny remnants. I probably could have found one that covered the thing, but I really want a waterfall. I've had very few non-negotiables, and this is one. I want waterfall on my island. So Giant. But I highly recommend Remnant Shop because it was well worth it.
Right. Appliances, we had $7,000. I think she ended up spending $9,000.
So, yeah, whatever it was, I washed out with the cabinets and the countertops because I saved so much on countertops.
That's what we've been doing this whole time. So we set the budget, and we've been robbing Peter and paying Paul.
We went over here, but we saved a lot of here, so we can just.
Yeah, so if I had to put, I could sit down and put a percent complete to it. I'd say we're overall probably, I don't know, 60, 70%. Money-wise, we're probably about sixes there too. Our budget's looking okay, but every day, it's a new challenge. The thing that'll nickel and dime you when you don't know what the hell you're doing is going to Home Depot. Like, our Home Depot budget is ungodly.
I have like a whole manila envelope just full of Home Depot alone.
So to help mitigate that too, we've just, instead of pulling from our construction loan or our budget for the house, we've been trying to pay for it out of pocket for all this little stuff. So, every week you might spend $200-300 on a house. Like I was saying in the beginning, we started with cash. We were fortunate enough to make a pretty decent profit on our house in Utah, although if we would have held on to it for another year,
we probably could have made a lot more, but
damn near could have paid for this place. But so we started with cash, and then you have to obviously roll over to a construction loan or at least a mortgage at the end of that. So it was challenging to find a bank that would finance a pole structure or a pole barn or a post frame structure. Some of them would, with like a ridiculous down. One of them was going to fund 60% of the project, so we would have to cough up, almost $300,000 or $250,000. So we found a bank in Washington, Banner Bank. I don't know if you guys really care, but they've been great to work with. The one thing that you could run into, depending on where you're at in your area, is the house still has to appraise for it. And the only way you get appraisals is to have comps. So if there's not any post-frame homes in your area, it's extremely hard for the appraiser to get comps to appease the bank, essentially. So that was the most challenging part. It took forever for us to get our construction loan because while I do work in the construction industry, I don't have my own house building company. So again, like Megan alluded to earlier, we're self-building or self-contracting this house. So I had to turn in a resume and give pictures of projects that
he's currently
working on. And it took 3.5 to 4 months from the time I inquired on the loan till we closed on the loan. That kind of put us in limbo too, which sucked because it ate up our entire summer.
Yeah.
There was literally weeks that would go by that we didn't have any money to spend on it, so we couldn't do anything. We had some money in reserves, but I didn't want to start spending that money until I knew that we could pull a draw off the bank. So that kind of sucked, but I guess, if I could give you any advice, start as early as you can. Maybe do some research on your own. It's I don't know that there's a search criteria yet for post-frame structures. They're becoming more and more prevalent, so I bet there will be in Realtor searches, but see if you can find any other ones in your area before you do that, and then when your appraiser calls you or talks to you, you can at least point them in that direction.
I think the other biggest challenge with that is we have to carry everything, and then so like when our lumber arrived, we pay for all of that up front, and until it's in, and I'm not talking like arrives, I'm talking our framing is done.
Yeah.
They don't give us the money for it.
Yeah. So if you're gonna go down the route that we did and try to get a construction loan, just know that you, like she said, you have to fork out all that cash
up front
before you get paid.
So, for everything. They don't give you back a dime for anything until it's done and installed and inspected.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, depending on the size of your house, you're going to want to, I would say, carry 10% of your total budget in cash to get through that month for the next month. And you can negotiate, like our spray foam, for instance. You know, our first bill, since they're not done, our first bill was $12,000-$15,000. Well, they gave us 30-day terms, which means they gave me a bill, and then I don't have to pay them for 30 days. So I stacked it to where we had this done, and this done, and then the spray foam's done, and then you ask for that draw, and then, you know, it takes roughly 10-15 days to get the money, and then you can then pay for.
I will say though, if you are looking for a bank though, they've been fantastic. Like whenever we are ready for a draw, which is basically where we're paying ourselves back, they come out like that. Like Beau puts in our draw request, and the guys here like the next day, and then like the next day they give us the money back. Yeah. Like it's insane. But again, if you're not prepared for it, that's a large amount of money to carry up front.
Yep. They know that if they slow the process down, it's slowing you down, and you know, the last thing they want to do is slow down, because another thing for the construction loan is you're paying interest only. So, and you're only paying interest on the money you pull. So really, the more cash that you can put out, the less you're going to waste, because, you know, we're going to probably use the full duration, which is 12 months. That's all they give you is 12 months on a construction loan. And we're probably going to use all that. So during that 12 months, you're making interest-only payments, which at the beginning it was only like $300 a month.
Yeah.
This isn't bad at all. You know, now I think it's up to like $1,200. So all that is just back to the bank. It's not cheap to build your house yourself and go the construction route or construction loan route.
I mean, would we love to do this debt-free? Absolutely, but that's just not where we're at in life right now. So
yeah,
this is where we are.
That was kind of our start. We're like, hey, let's get rid of our big house. Let's downsize and be debt-free. And then Megan had to build this big damn thing.
Husband's dream home over here. Shop house.
Yeah, so to tally it all up, our land, we spent $89,000 for it. Who knows what you'll spend wherever you're at.
We also bought almost 30 acres.
Yep, we got 27.
It's like 27.8 or something like that.
The total budget for this home structure, well, clearing is $425,000.
And so I guess with that, once again, when we actually hit our deadline, because we only have a year, which comes up the end of May, I think is our, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll do another one of these and let you know if we blew that budget to smithereens or if we stayed under. But so far, we're doing good as far as budget. Like we said, we kind of pull from here to save there, or save here to shove it there. We've definitely learned a lot. It's been quite the process. I've done things I've never thought I would do.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to figure out our costs here. Hold on.
Oh, you're fine. There's other things that we have been very fortunate to save on. You know, we have a skid steer. That was something we purchased quite a while ago. And then actually Beau's company rented it for us for years, and it was paid. They rented it from us, so that we just own that, which is fantastic. My grandpa, he has lent us his excavator and his dump truck and his heater, and without my grandpa, the scaffolding. Oh, and then he obviously comes and digs all of our holes for us too. So without him, I don't know that
it'd make it difficult.
Ask for help when you need it, when you know you need it, is definitely another thing. I know we're doing this ourselves, but there's only so much that you can do, and Beau works full time, and so we're after hours here.
Be prepared to basically bite off a year of your life or more. You know, we've seen a lot of these people that take 2 or 3 years to build a house, and I almost think the construction loan gives us, you know, that get your shit in gear and get going.
The motivation to stay in a timeline, yeah.
So we only have 12 months, and you can buy a 13th month, but it's not cheap, and I don't really want to do that. So
I didn't even know that. Let's not go that route.
Because I didn't tell you. So it came out to $61 a foot, $61.25 a foot. Just for the building, not including the land. That's the building and the well and septic. So this is a 62 wide by 112 feet deep.
That's including the porch.
Correct. The front 42 feet is house, including 52 feet, including the house.
Including the porch.
Including the porch. And then only 40 foot wide on the house.
If there's anything else that you want to know, if we didn't cover something, if you want to know more about something else, we are happy to do another one of these. This is our first sit down. We're not really like sit down and stare at ourselves type people.
No,
so
if
you want to know more, if we skipped over something, if you're interested in something, make sure to leave us a comment below. If there's enough interest, we can definitely do another one of these. Obviously, we'll do one once we do complete the house and we can see how bad we blew our budget or if we stayed under. There's all sorts of things we can add on to, but leave us some comments. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, and the easiest way to support our channel is give us a like and a subscribe, and we can keep bringing you content.
So, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Salud.
Cheers. Yes, we like wine. Well, he's drinking whiskey.
It's whiskey.
Drinking wine. Have a good night. Hi, chickadee.
Anyways, we're back for live action. Is that one recording? Take 20!
I felt like it looked good from this
You should
view.
just do a quick overview. Say this is
This is what we're filming in. The dog couch. What are you doing in there?
got our studio set up. That is actually our light for above our garage door.
It's not wired in yet, so.
This is my cooler.
Oh my god.
That's our Milwaukee light stand. And that's Pendleton. And that's my beautiful wife.
This is your behind the scenes look at our filming station here.
Studio!
This is our full studio. By the way, this is Bane's couch. We got some rigged up lights. We didn't want our lighting to be bad, so here you are. Here's our studio. Thank you guys again for being here, and we'll see you next time.